Today's Dodgers Daily Update, or All Dodgers Daily Update, is going to be a little bit different. I wanted to take a deep dive into Mookie Betts, who's entering his 5th season in Dodger Blue. And at this point in his career, he's done everything he can do on the baseball field. We know this. So we wonder, people wonder, is motivation a concern at this point for Mookie Betts? Does he need a new challenge with 8 years left on that big contract he signed ahead of the 2020 season? It is the Oops All Mookie edition of the All Dodgers podcast. First, my name is Clint Pasillas. You guys can find me as Real FRG on the social media platforms. The links are in the description below. I'm a longtime baseball writer, sports analyst. I cover the Dodgers here on my All Dodgers YouTube channel. I'd be thrilled if you'd consider giving the channel a subscribe. Hitting that notification bell really helps out the channel as well, especially if you want to get alerted for new content whenever I happen to go live, which is usually a couple of times a week. We have a whole conversation about the Dodgers. It's a good time. If you also want to listen to just me and not see my face, find All Dodgers Podcast with Clint Pasillas on the internet, part of the Believe network of podcasts. So I started playing around with this kind of concept, or this thing sort of brain bombed on me a few days back before I started recording it, and then it just, you let it sit. You want to make sure you're not, as I say here, making a mountain out of a molehill when we're talking about, or when I'm talking about what I'm going to talk about. But I wonder if Mookie Betts might have realized that he had a little bit of a motivation problem. Not calling the guy out for sure. I think it's fair to, at times, for some people at times, to question the motivation of Mookie Betts. I'll preamble here and say that that's honestly perfectly fine for him if he is, if he's not always the most motivated, because, his job to him can feel like your job to you or my job to me. There are going to be times where you absolutely do not want to be there. There are going to be times where you can tolerate it. And there are going to be times where maybe, just maybe, you might have a little bit of fun doing the day-to-day at your job. But for Mookie Betts, who's done everything in his career, just about everything in his career, everything you could do in the game of baseball, MVP award, Gold Glove awards, Silver Slugger awards, All-Star berth, World Series champion twice over. I can empathize for that state of mind of being like, oh man, I got another decade of this or whatever, 8 years at this point. Yes, he makes a lot of money. We understand that. He makes a lot of money to play a child's game, but money ain't everything. So the whole thing started, it started a little bit before this brain bomb I had about this Mookie thing and this motivation thing. And sure, it's not an original thought. Listen to Dodger Talk over the years. You'll have some Mookie motivation and Mookie question marks being thrown out there quite often. But it really solidified in my brain recently because of an article that was posted in The Athletic from Ken Rosenthal. Also, he talked about it on the Foul Territory show. Check out a little bit more insight into that conversation that Ken had with Mookie. But in the article, Ken writes that Mookie said he wants to be a legend in the game. He wants to be remembered for his impact on and off the field. And that seems to be kind of what's motivating him at this point in his career. As we see the whole excerpt there. I guess you can't have a whole excerpt, but as we see the excerpt there on the screen, again, mountain out of a molehill, a bit of sensationalism on my part here for sure, maybe, but it feels like somebody, Mookie, actively looking for motivation or added motivation, we'll say. He's not trying, obviously. We saw the insane August he put together last year. We know what he can do when he's locked in. But when you're not locked in, when the game is less fun, the mind can wander, and he's got a lot of different things going on. He's got his hand in different honeypots, or I don't even know. I think that's a bad expression I just said, but you get the gist there. He wants to do more with his time and his life all year round already, and that's perfectly fine. The chat to me with Ken Rosenthal, it sounds to me like somebody just kind of sat around with the boys after the season. Maybe you crack open a beer, maybe you pour a nice whiskey or something like that. But you're sitting around with the boys after the season, and especially after the way last season ended, and was just kind of talking out his frustrations and fears and searching for that next thing to spark him for these next however many years of baseball he's going to end up playing. The idea was touched on a little under a year ago when Mookie visited Kevin Hart. Yes, that Kevin Hart, the funny guy. He chatted with Kevin Hart on his network. Mookie then talked about, the next thing for him, trying to become a Hall of Famer. That's what he was going for. Let's play that clip here, then I'll add a little bit more.
First and foremost, man, an unbelievable career you have had. Not that it's over, because of course it's still going on, man.
I got 9 more.
That's right. You signed a 12-year contract.
Yeah, that's a lot of years. Man.
God!
That's a lot of years.
12 years?
When I signed it, I was like,
you greedy son of a...
Hey, somebody got to do it, though.
12 years. How many games in a baseball season?
162.
162. So the day's off for what?
We start I'm leaving right after Valentine's Day, and then I'll probably have 2 days off a month. But I usually travel on days off.
Dude, how do you balance that, right? Because you got a family, you're married, you have a kid. Yeah. Is that hard for you with the schedule?
Yeah, man, it's hard. You can't be everywhere at once, and you gotta make sure you take care of your job, because your job is kind of what's providing everything for you, but you also gotta provide as a husband.
Yeah.
You gotta provide as a father.
Yeah.
You got to provide as a friend.
Oh, you talking like you've been in therapy?
Yeah,
I can hear it.
Therapy.
It's a tone that black men have when they've been in therapy. When they say,
when you just look down like this. Yeah, I
when
know
they
exactly.
fold their hands like this and they start using words like friend.
You start looking off in the side.
I can see it.
Therapy,
I understand, but it has to be done. 30 years old, by the way, achieving that type of success is unheard of. You said, okay, I got 9 years left. Mm-hmm. Within that 9 years that you're talking about having left, what else is it that Mookie wants to do in the game of baseball?
The last thing for me is just becoming a Hall of Famer.
I think that you've already put yourself in a position to be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, I mean, we'll see. We don't know. We just got to keep playing.
We don't know.
So yeah, we get the Hall of Fame talk, but it also seemed to me, again, like somebody who was sort of struggling to find a balance of everything in his life and almost burdened by the then 9 years left on his contract, which, again, I could sort of understand for sure. Life's hard sometimes. All that said, I like where Mookie Betts is at heading into the new regular season. We're already seeing some pretty good stuff out of him during spring training for sure. But I mentioned in my infield preview of part of the season preview series that he did sound more motivated during FanFest, or more excited during FanFest. And I believe that him playing second base gives him something to be excited about. Playing second base more regularly, or really full time. It's like opening a new chapter and really a new career for him in a way. And it's taken him back to when the game was maybe a little bit more happier for him. He is a guy that was drafted as a shortstop, played second base coming up through the minor leagues before he had to move to the outfield for Dustin Pedroia. So we'll say maybe going to second base, baseball doesn't feel like a 9 to 5 as much to him anymore. But anyways, this was his kind of clip. You could see the joy in his face, Mookie's face, when he's talking about, I get to go play second base. Let's roll that beautiful bean footage.
So you're still going to stand in the right-hand batter's box. You're not going to become a switch hitter.
Well,
but you are going to move a little closer to home plate when you're on defense.
That part I really enjoy. I don't know about switch hitting, but the second base part,
do you have
really
your
enjoy.
eye on any metal at second base?
Yeah, I think, I don't know if any players have done it or however many, but I'm trying to add one more to the list. If I can get me a gold glove at second base and the outfield, I feel like I'll
You'll finally accomplish something in your life.
Finally,
yes.
So we got a potentially new look Mookie Betts. I don't know if he's going to be a new look Mookie Betts, but he's got a different motivation. He's got something challenging him. He's got a spark biting him on the ass, and that's something fun. That would be something new and exciting. Like for me, starting the All Dodgers channel here, it was something new and exciting and different when I was kind of pushed into being very burnt out before. But all of that said, again, I like where Mookie is headed. I like where his head is at. I don't know what makes a legend in today's game. I don't know if we're going to talk about any of the players we're seeing these days in the same way we would talk about all the names I'm coming up with right now are probably not viewed in the biggest lights, but are the best of lights, like a Barry Bonds or a Pete Rose or whatever. But let's say a Derek Jeter, let's say a Randy Johnson, let's say, well, we could throw definitely a Clayton Kershaw in there. He's a contemporary. He's somebody right now who is definitely going to be viewed as a legend of the game. But he's also somebody that came up in an era just a tad before the era we're in right now, a tad even before the Mookie era. So you could look at maybe Miguel Cabrera, maybe like Yadier Molina, definitely Albert Pujols. Those are kind of those type of guys. They did things on and off the field. They transcend the game in their own ways, but also there's just those type of guys you talk about day in, day out when you're talking about the greater game of baseball. Enlighten me. Give me more of your thoughts on this. Sound off in the comments below. What makes a legend? How does a player become a legend in the game? Do you think I'm on to anything here, or am I just making up a bunch of BS and Mookie can say whatever he's want? He could be equally as motivated now as he was a year ago or 2 years ago. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. I feel like maybe I'm on to something, but if not, well, you already watched it this far. I appreciate you watching this far. I hope I earned a thumbs up for the effort, at least if I'm not onto something here. Consider subscribing to the channel. That really does help things out. I am Clint. Find me as RealFRG on the Twitter, X, on the Instagram, and I'll see you on the next one.